We're going to continue with our media availabilities here at Phoenix Raceway in advance of Sunday's Can-Am 500. We are now joined by Denny Hamlin, driver of the number 11 FedEx Ground Toyota. Denny, you are 5th on the playoffs leaderboard right now as you go after that final spot in the Championship 4. Just talk about your approach as you come here to Phoenix this weekend.
Same as any other weekend, we come and try to win, and obviously, we would probably, as the race plays out, you got to see where you stand, where your competitors are, whether you need to hedge your strategy towards having to go all out for a win or finish badly, or you just try to finish the best you can and hope your competitors are far enough behind. So I think it's tough to say what the right thing to do is, but we'll just throughout the next 2 days just try to make our cars faster and faster, and if we can do that, then it'll take care of itself.
All right, we're going to open up to questions here. We're going to start right here with Jeff, right in the middle.
Jeff Gluck from jeffgluck.com. Denny, can you point your way in realistically, like straight up against Keselowski without him having trouble? Do you feel like through stage points and a finish you can get in just straight up that way?
We beat him by 15 points last week, and he only finished 2 spots behind us. So, it's possible for sure. It just depends on how the first part of the race plays out, honestly.
All right, we're going to go to Dave, Jenna, and Wolfgang.
Dave Coleman, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Denny, you've been teammates with Matt for 5 years and certainly knew him for many years before. Do you have any great insight, any interesting stories, anything that I can use to embarrass him, anything like that?
No, not really. He doesn't like to be embarrassed, so... he's just a great guy, and, it's unfortunate that he doesn't have a ride, and, he definitely deserves one, which is a shame. But, it's today's NASCAR world, it's just, being talented and playing at a high level at this sport doesn't guarantee you playing time. In other sports, it does. Because it takes financial backing to do it. That part of it's tough. I'm sure that he would still like to run more. I know that he has a desire to still race, and we know that he can compete for race wins every single week. And unfortunately, a guy like that will be sitting at home next year.
We'll go to Jenna, Wolfgang, and Claire.
Denny, when you guys were putting together the stages last year and you were working with NASCAR and figuring out the kinks, did you guys know or was it expected that someone would clinch a spot in the finale based on what they could do through the regular season?
I think we ran simulations, and obviously we didn't predict Truex winning like 40 stages or whatever he's won, because it's just an abnormal type year. You just don't see it that often. But in the end, you look at it and it's like, that guy should be rewarded. As long as he doesn't blow up and do something, to have 2 catastrophic races, why shouldn't he be part of the best 4 going to Homestead? And when you look at the cars that have clinched, it's probably been, other than the 42, the 3 other best cars throughout the entire year. So I think it's worked in that sense. I hate it for ourselves because we're performing at a high level through the playoffs, and we may not get rewarded for it, but it's meant to be a win and you're in type format. So we know that in the future, next year, whatever, not that we could really done anything more throughout the regular season, but it's so much more important to win races and get those bonus points. And trust me, I'd like to have my Darlington win back as well, because that was points left on the table.
We'll go to Wolfgang, Claire, Bob.
Denny, most of the time, or nearly every year here in Phoenix, the race is under very hot temperatures. Is this maybe an issue during the race? I think it's maybe easier for yourself and also for the machinery, for the equipment to run under cooler temperatures.
I don't think that this racetrack is as temperature sensitive as other racetracks. We were just looking at notes about what to think about for qualifying, and I just don't think it changes that much. I don't know that this racetrack or this race in particular has been hard on equipment in years past. I think it's just about having a fast car.
Go to Claire.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. With one person getting in and so many drivers trying into that final spot, how crazy do you think it will be at the end? And what sort of judgment calls do you think you'll all have to make? And where do you determine that line is?
I think, the interesting things that could play out is teammates staying out or pitting, things like that possibly could put you behind. Who knows how it's going to turn out? I mean, honestly, there's 5 of us that probably feels like we need to, or there's 4 of us that need to feel like we need to win to get in. Like I say, until the first half of the race plays out, we don't know what we need to do. I think we'll have a better idea after those first 2 stages. But then I think, it's what strategy do you take for that final restart? Do you stay out or do you pit? It definitely has a potential to be pretty crazy on restarts, knowing that you have some agendas out there that will be a win or nothing.
Given what you've been through recently, how far do you go? Where's that line?
You do everything you can. I mean, I sensed how important it was in the first race of this round, much less the last race of this round. So I don't know, how much different you would do. I mean, you try to do everything you can to win. I mean, it's you try it. There's several different ways to do it. I mean, we've seen anywhere from guys just winning races to something like Ryan Newman did with 1 lap to go a few years ago. I mean, it's drivers become desperate when you know that this could be your final lap contending for a championship.
We'll go to Bob and then Mike and Chris.
Bob Pockers, ESPN. Do you feel like you have a car that can win after a practice, and maybe when during the race will you know whether you can potentially dictate your own strategy as far as going for the win?
So far from what I've seen, I think we have a car that can win. I think that we had a very good practice today. We didn't spend much time in qualifying trim, but when we did, we went straight to the top. So I think that definitely the car has good speed in it. We still got some work to do in race trim, but we're pretty close to where I need it to be. But yeah, I mean, we honestly need to see how many points the 2 car gains at the beginning of the race. I mean, that's really the key for us knowing where our strategy goes for the second half of the race.
We'll go to Mike and then up here to Chris.
Mike Hembry, USA Today. This is not really a big track, but it's not Martinsville either. Is it still a situation where, though, kind of anything goes on the last lap or 2?
I think you'll see, drivers doing desperate things for sure. I mean, to what extent, I'm really not sure. I think it just depends on the players that are in the game at that point, and how late in the race it is.
We'll go to Chris and then to Dustin.
Chris Knight, catchfence.com. Denny, with the importance of stage racing we're seeing becoming a factor towards the end of the season, do you think that offers a potential for stage racing to be more racing better next spring or in the summer, knowing that how crucial those stage points were? Because it seems like some of the drivers just in the teams talked about that they didn't see the importance of stage racing until almost it was too late.
Well, I knew that we did everything we could to get stage points because we wanted to be as high in the regular season points as possible. So we are always trying to gain stage points. I think we just struggled with speed for most of the year, and so we weren't able to capitalize getting enough stage wins. I think we only had 3 stage wins throughout the entire year. It's just not enough. You got to have more than that to be competitive this late in the season if you're not going to win races. So I think I don't know what we could do different other than just really try to be better through the regular season, be faster to give ourselves an opportunity to win stages.
We'll go to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Last year in this race, with about 50 laps to go or so, Mike kept you out. You didn't pit when everybody else did, so you had to try to hold people off on older tires. How challenging is that to do here? This is the same tire. Could you do it? And I know everything's circumstantial, but could you do it and have better success this time around if put back in that situation?
Well, the 31 car won the race on that strategy. He had the proper amount of cars behind him to make it work. Things worked out perfectly in turns 1 and 2 for him, where the 42 and maybe the 17 got into each other. They gave him enough gap, but I don't know. The reason we had to stay out at that time is we had a flat tire and lost all of our track position with 100 to go. So we had to do something to get that track position back, and that's why we stayed out. I thought it actually worked pretty good. Once things leveled out, I think we stabilized 7th, 8th position, somewhere in that range. But we certainly had a winning car here in the spring. We just got bugged with flat tires. We had one in qualifying, one right towards the end of the race, and that kind of dictated our strategy. So I think you try to run as fast as you can, lead every lap you can for the first part, see where you stand, and then work your strategy off that.
We're going to wrap up with Jonathan.
Denny, if you think back to 2010, I think this place left a pretty bad taste in your mouth. If you could come in here and either get a win in advance to Homestead or point your way into Homestead, would that kind of take a little bit of that taste out of your mouth? Do you seek validation at this track since that race?
Not really. I mean, I don't hold a grudge. It's not the racetrack's fault, 2010. I mean, we were dominant here in 2010. We just had bad fuel calculations, I guess you could say, and it just didn't work out for us. And so I definitely don't hold any grudges to the racetrack. I love coming here. It's been a great racetrack for me. I've raced my way in at this track after 2010, so the score's probably even on that.
All right, Denny, thank you for joining us. Good
Thanks.
luck on Sunday.